So this is Advertising Research Foundation, which I think is unbelievably cool. You're going to see, these brilliantly conceived and carefully researched and thoroughly quantified presentations. And unfortunately, this won't be one of those. I'm not really even sure kind of why I'm here, because I've always been sort of on the other side of the table. I've always been a sort of a person who advocates like instinct and hunch and talent and other kind of unmeasurable stuff. But even I am changing my tune these days and seeing more and more the value of audience research. And I want to show you one reason why. As of last Monday, or as of the week prior to last Monday, the 3 most popular network TV shows were American Idol on Tuesday night, American Idol on Wednesday night, and American Idol on Thursday night. That network, the 3 most popular cable shows were some episode of SpongeBob, WWE, not just WWE, WWE Raw, and Jersey Shore. That was number 1. Now, I'm not being judgmental. I'm not making any observations about the apparent distance between popular culture and, well, culture. But the value of audience research is becoming more and more clear to me. They asked me to talk about our process, and I think really our agency's process is not dramatically different from most agencies. This is what it looks like. There will be a quiz. Actually, I think that we've found a couple of ways to use research. I don't know if they're in different ways. I only had one job in my life, so I'm not really qualified to speak about what anyone else does. But I think we found some ways to use research that have been very effective for us. And I want to talk a little bit about some of those ways and show some of the results of the results that came from them. The first thing is we always start with the business strategy. For one thing, businesses are easier to move than people, I think. We tend to, when we are engaged with a client or an assignment, we tend to do a real careful, at least according to our definition of careful, analysis of the business situation they're in and the business problems they have. We're really, I think at the beginning, more like financial guys than advertising guys, although we did not cause the banking meltdown and we taken no TARP funds. But what we found is the harder that you work on business strategy, the more likely you are to be successful. And sometimes what that means is finding new ways to use old news. Like we look very, very carefully at sales figures, we look at audience research, and we try and think about that very hard to see what we can do to exploit that. Now I want to show you one example from Burger King. We knew 2 things. We knew that Burger King, whenever they introduced a new product, they got a spike in sales, and we also knew that a significant majority of, or a significant percentage of people, in the US anyway, eat Burger King in their car. So we thought about, okay, how do we exploit these things? So in fact, one of our creative directors invented a product for Burger King. They're called chicken fries. You can eat them in your car like French fries. And we worked with Burger King's kitchens, and we actually developed the product, and it's been quite successful. And to introduce it, we thought, okay, our audience is basically young men. This is a product you eat in your car. Let's sort of do a co-op with NASCAR. So this is the commercial we ran.
Back in the early days, they used to hand me the whole chicken on a pole.
You see how we put this chicken on that pole? They'd run that car in there, just stick that chicken right in there in your face.
Then they came up with a drumstick. You get the grease all over your hands, it goes right to the steering wheel. Well, then they incorporated the chicken sandwich. And, that didn't work out at all. Now they got the chicken fries. All white meat, streamlined for high-speed consumption.
You gotta feed the need for chicken fries.
Thanks. Another thing that we do, I don't know if everyone does it, but we pay a lot of attention to it, is we spend a lot of time studying the competition, carefully studying their audience, studying their messages, seeing what's going on with them. Because very often we've found, we call it the judo principle, where you can sort of use a competitor's momentum against them. And I want to show you one example. that came from a sort of an Apple Burger King thing, or I mean an Apple Microsoft thing. When we were preparing, sort of laying the groundwork for introducing Windows 7 for Microsoft, we studied very, very carefully the relationship of Apple and Microsoft. And what we found, it was sort of interesting. At that time, Apple was running a lot of ads with this hip young guy sort of making fun with this, you know, guy in a suit and tie who was a little bit straighter. And it was sort of interesting because what the audience was saying to us is that maybe Apple was getting a little too hip. Maybe they were a little too exclusionary. Maybe making fun of everybody who doesn't use a Mac is not such a good idea. So we kind of tried to work with that and to create a campaign, a pre-launch campaign for Windows 7 that would maybe take the opposite point of view, because the fact is Microsoft Windows is an open system. There's 1 billion users. We are inclusionary rather than exclusionary. So we created a campaign that was a pre-launch campaign for Windows 7. It had to be simple because it had to be global, and so we came up with this.
Hello, I'm a PC. And I've been made into a stereotype.
I'm a PC, and I'm not what you call hip.
I'm a PC, and I wear glasses.
I wear glasses.
Hey, I wear glasses.
I wear jeans. And I study jeans.
And I design jeans.
And I design green buildings.
I'm a PC, and I study the law.
And I practice the law.
And I challenge the law.
I'm a PC, and I blog for Obama.
And I broadcast for McCain.
And I have a beard.
I'm a PC and I have 3 rings.
I'm a PC and I have 1 ring.
I turn number 2 into energy.
I'm a PC and I want to protect peace.
I'm a PC and I'm connected to more than 1 billion others worldwide.
Roger that, Houston. I'm a PC.
And my name is Roger. I'm a PC.
I'm a PC.
I'm a PC.
Yeah, I'm a PC too.
I'm a PC and a human being. Not a human doing, not a human thinking, a human being.
I'm a PC and I sell fish.
So that was the I'm a PC campaign. And then when Windows 7, in fact, launched, Microsoft did a really interesting thing. They invited people to send in ideas and suggestions and thoughts about how Windows 7 should work. And they got literally hundreds of thousands. And a lot of them, to some degree or another, got incorporated into the final Windows 7 product. So we used that idea, and again, the inclusionary idea, in the launch campaign. And basically what it said, I just want to show you some of the online stuff we did. It said, I'm a PC and Windows 7 was my idea. And again, it was a global campaign. We ran it all over the world. For some reason, I have 2 examples in French. I think it's because of her. I'm not 100% sure why. But this campaign was pretty interesting. There were a lot of things Microsoft really wanted to do in terms of changing attitudes, and we were pretty successful at that. I don't know if you can read this, but basically what it says is the first graph is simplifies everyday tasks. Their baseline, where they were sitting, was at 18. Their goal was at 30% of people who said, yes, it does that, and they reached 45%. The next one is works the way I need it to work. They were at 15. Their goal was 32, and they got to 42. And the third one, which I think is maybe the most interesting of all, is makes new things possible. And their baseline was 18. They were aiming for 31, and they got to 41. So it was a pretty successful campaign, and also they sold about 175 million Windows 7 today. Actually, that was a few weeks ago. Another thing that we believe, and maybe everyone believes this, but we work very hard at it, is before you talk to the world, talk to each other. We've tried very hard to sort of formalize and institutionalize communication within our agency. We have 7 offices, 1 in Canada, 2 in Europe, and the rest in the US. And we've formalized a way for everyone in our agency, in every department, to have conversations with each other about clients, about products, about audiences, about anything. And I think it's been pretty successful for us. And I want to show you one example of where I think we were able to take some institutional knowledge and transfer it to another client pretty effectively. One of the things we learned when we were working with Microsoft is that what drives people crazy is when something new comes out when they just bought their thing. New technology, people are afraid of it. People will put off purchases because they're worried the next new thing will come out. So one of our clients is Best Buy, and we worked with Best Buy to create a program to sort of counter that, to say, look, when new technology comes out, we'll buy your old one back and we'll give you a new one. This is one of the commercials we did for that.
It is the newest, even newer.
Everything else is obsolete.
I just bought this one!
Oh, wait. Oh, 4D TV? Stupid.
You got the wrong TV, silly head.
The new buyback program. You buy it now, we buy it back when the new thing comes out.
So I just want to show you, because I think this is a really interesting example. That's what that strategy looks like in normal world TV, and this is what the strategy looks like in Super Bowl world TV.
Welcome to 4G. Don't touch my hammer.
Okay, all right. This is the new version. This is 5G.
No, now it's 4G.
It's just 5G. So
okay,
now it's 5G.
This is 5G, I think.
It's a 5G.
What you talking about?
Just a 5G. Just say a 5. Just say 5G.
All aboard the 5G train. How many bloody G's are there?
I'll take it from here.
Oh. Okay.
All right, we're gonna lose Ozzy and bring in the new one.
Marker.
Ozzy's in the background, guys.
What?
He's in the background.
Is this the way out?
The new buyback program. You buy it now, we buy it back when it's time to upgrade.
It's Bieber, 6G Fever.
What's a 6G?
What the f***'s a Bieber?
I don't know. Kind of looks like a girl.
That ran online. We use focus groups. Everybody uses focus groups. We use focus groups. What we believe is that focus groups are best off at telling you what's wrong. Focus groups tend to be negative about everything. You all know this. Focus groups, you know, the general attitude, or very often the general attitude is, look, I think for myself, advertising doesn't sway me. You know, you're not going to manipulate me with your marketing messages, and I've got to leave now because I want to get in line because the new Nike model comes out at midnight. So we use focus groups a lot, and we listen to the negative things that they say, and we try to sift through that, and we try and find the reality there. And I want to show you one example where we use focus groups that I think really gave us a strategy. I don't think focus groups do that very often. They never come up with an idea, but here's one example for Coke where they gave us a strategy. When we were introducing Coke Zero, the promise of Coke Zero is it tastes just like Coke. So we talked to focus groups and we said it tastes just like Coke. And without exception, they said, no, it doesn't. It doesn't. It doesn't taste just, it won't taste just like Coke. It doesn't. We don't believe you. So we began to think, what would we do? What would the Coca-Cola company do to try and prove that it actually tastes like Coke? So we imagined a couple of guys who were Coke Classic marketing directors who decided to sue Coke Zero for taste infringement. So we called some attorneys in Atlanta. We didn't let them in on it. Coca-Cola company called them. They came into Coca-Cola. We had two actors. They were acting as Coke marketing guys, and we secretly filmed these encounters with these attorneys. This was sort of an interesting campaign because there were no pictures of people drinking Coke, and nobody was saying, wow, it tastes just like Coke. This was a whole different approach. So we started running it online, and it became so successful it became their TV campaign. I want to show you one of the first ones we did that went online that got about 1 million views.
Would you agree that these two products taste similar?
Yes.
Very similar?
Yes.
Yeah. So then do you think that we, as the Coke brand, would have a case against the Coke Zero brand? Because they've infringed upon our taste.
It's a novel theory.
What can we do inside or on this floor within the two brand teams within the company to really bring this to light and shut it down?
One of the things that I would do is consider possibly threatening these folks with a preliminary injunction.
How long would that take?
Well, we could write a threatening letter within a few hours.
Okay, that's very good.
So
I want to do that.
We could do that.
Okay.
Is there anything that has happened recently that makes you this concerned?
My neighbor had a graduation party for his daughter, junior high graduation, and cooler was filled with that.
There is the possibility that consumers will start drinking that, thinking they're drinking that.
That's exactly that's exactly our point of bringing you in today. I'm glad you understand what our case is.
Well, let me ask you, what would your proposed end game be? What would your...
That they were crushed and Ron, their director, was in the fetal position crying under the copier. Crying.
Da, 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 da. So we made about 11 of those with 11 different lawyers. And they were all wonderful. It was very, very hard to cut them down to 30-second spots because lawyers are really funny. One of the things they asked me to talk about is how we structure the creative process, and I don't know. You know, I mean, it's impossible for me to talk about creative, and I always say that there's a Bob Dylan quote. Some reporter asked Bob Dylan once early in his career. They said, you know, what are your songs about? And he said, well, some of them are about 4 minutes and some are about 5, which is kind of the way I feel about this game. I think it's very, very hard to describe how you get to where you get. I do know this. We never start with advertising. We never start thinking about what would make a good ad. We always start somewhere else. We start with a press release that said, what if we did this press release? What would happen? Or we start with an event, or we start with an online game, or we start with a new product. We start somewhere else because what you do is way more important than what you say. So I think that maybe that's different or maybe it's not, but it's a very effective system for us. And young creatives who come to work for us and come in and say, look, I've written the script for a TV spot, are always very shocked when they get thrown out and someone says, come back with something else. So that might be different. I do know this. Talent trumps everything. Ultimately, however much research you have, if you've got people, and I'm not just talking about creative people, I'm talking about also research analysis and planners and people like that. I mean, I guess it's like the most naive thing in the world to say, but not everyone thinks it all the time. You know, the more talented people you can get, the better you're going to do at it. Another thing that we think about is what the world is thinking about. And I want to show you an example that came from Domino's. You know, this partly came from focus groups, which maybe you saw them on TV saying, this pizza tastes like cardboard and it's terrible. People were surprised that we put that on TV. It worked, but Domino's, you know, Domino's read the research like we did, and they said, well, you know, we got to improve our product, so we're making a better tasting pizza. And the idea initially was we're going to announce, hey, new and improved. You know, the Domino's that you loved is now even better. The reality was people didn't love it, and also at that particular time, about a year and a half ago, America was pretty disenchanted with corporate America because of the banking meltdown, because of all kinds of other scandals and everything. America didn't really trust corporate America. So in our conversations with Domino's, we said, look, what you need to do is say, we didn't used to be very good. A lot of people didn't like our pizza. And if you say that, if you admit that, if you're transparent and honest, it'll work better. And so they agreed to do that. And we did a bunch of commercials that said, wow, you know, these pizzas don't taste very good. And then we created the new product, and then we did spots like this where we actually went to the people who had been in the focus group's houses.
We're here to see Carlos. Carlos was in a focus group, and he said some unflattering things about Domino's Pizza.
Crust is a little too rubbery.
We're bringing him the new and improved pizza. Carlos!
Low quality and forgettable.
Saul?
I didn't know you were listening.
Domino's Pizza should start over.
She has no idea we're coming. Adrienne?
Yeah.
I mean, if it's not great, tell me.
I'm eating my words.
I'm back. I'm in.
The critics have spoken. Now it's your turn. Try 2 medium, 2-topping inspired new pizzas for just $5.99 each.
It amazed us what telling the truth could do. This got so much ink. It was on everything. We figured we got about 2 billion free media impressions. Jay Leno actually...
Well, Domino's Pizza, one of the few companies doing well in America, they're reporting an almost unheard of increase in their business, up 14%.
And their stock was up over 40% the first month the campaign launched, so Domino's really loves us. I was going to talk now about a thing that we did for American Express, but it's kind of complicated and it's kind of boring, so I think I'm going to skip it. But I will. I'll put this up on our website. So for all the people who went to the bathroom at the beginning, you'll be able to see the whole thing, including the Small Business Saturday thing for American Express, which is actually a really interesting case history. It just takes too long. Another thing that we believe is live with the audience. we've got planners like everybody else has planners, and our planners say, well, we need to go to these people's homes, we need to see how they live, we need to see how they work, we need to see how they use the product, which I always thought was kind of bullshit. But I've changed my tune, and again, I think it's the quality of the planners. If you've got planners who are genuinely insightful people, but we've had 2 campaigns that we've done recently that have really relied on the kind of insights people got when they went into people's houses. When we started working on Kraft macaroni and cheese, the planners did the typical thing. They did all their interviews, they did their one-on-ones, and then they went to people's houses while they were making macaroni and cheese. And they saw a really interesting thing, which is when the mom or the dad was making macaroni and cheese for the kids, they stole a lot of it, and they ate it themselves. And so we talked to them and said, why don't you have it too? And they're like, well, it's for kids. And what came out is that they were embarrassed about it because they thought they were the only ones that did it. And the reality is everybody in the world does it. So we created this campaign sort of to give adults permission again to eat the macaroni and cheese they've been making.
Because then they can run around our house.
Did you see that? My mom just took a bite of my Kraft macaroni and cheese. Just wait, she'll do it again.
Why? Because I'm not saying that I did it perfectly either. But, honey, eat.
The crime wave continues.
Gooey, creamy, delicious Kraft macaroni and cheese. You know you love it.
So we use that kind of icon. And we developed a lot of work that was designed for adults, like drive-by billboards and stuff like that. And it's been pretty amazing. Sales have gone up dramatically. And we're talking to adults in an adult way. And I think that people like that. A lot of this outdoor, we're actually localizing. This is a board that runs on Long Island. Yeah, I love that board too. And about the same time Kraft came to us, another group came to us called Bolthouse Farms, which is a co-op of carrot growers. They grow about half the carrots in America. And they basically came to us and said, you guys seem to be clever. What do we got to do to sell more carrots? And so we said, well, I don't know. They're healthy. And they said, I know. We've been telling people they're healthy for 13 years. Nobody buys any more carrots. So people went into people's houses, and what they found was sort of interesting, which is carrots were regarded as a vegetable. People bought them. They left them in their vegetable bin until they got but what everyone said is, when we said, why don't you go buy carrots? They said, well, I already have carrots. I've got carrots at home. They'd probably been there for 2 months. So our ideas of doing another I've Got Milk campaign were out the window, because if we got carrots, people would say, yeah, I got carrots. So we had to think of another way to sell these carrots. So we looked around and we sort of stepped back a little bit and we said, okay, as a vegetable, they're doing about as good as they're going to do. But we have to turn them into something else. So we looked at what we could turn them into, and we looked at snack food. Now, carrots sell about $1 billion, about $1 billion a year. Snack food sells about $21 billion. So we thought, maybe we can steal some of this. So there are things called baby carrots, which aren't actually baby carrots. They're just carrots that are pared down. That's baby carrots is a hoax because it sounds nice. But we said, let's take this product, because you can make any carrot into a baby carrot. Let's take this product and make it a snack food. So we created new packaging for them that's sort of snack food packaging, and one is sort of crazy like Doritos, and one's a little bit more sophisticated. We did this new packaging, and we decided to do 2 test markets in the U.S. and see if this could get any traction at all. So we went all out like snack food, and we did like, grocery store things that said eat them like junk food, the original orange doodles. We did a whole bunch of stuff like this in store. We didn't have a ton of money. We made some TV spots, but mostly what we did is this local stuff. We went to the biggest high schools, the 2 or 3 biggest high schools in these 2 test markets, and we got these carrot vending machines put in, which are just like snack food vending machines. And it was sort of interesting, and it did start to get some traction. We even created these for Halloween. They're called Scarrots. They're little baby carrot things. We sent several boxes to the White House, and the rumor was that, in fact, Michelle Obama was handing them out, but she wouldn't endorse them. I understand that. It was interesting, it got traction. It made the front page of the New York Times in color, which I was a little bit surprised at. And then the New York Times even did a more thoughtful piece in the magazine, which they typically don't do. And overall, the results of the test market have been pretty good. We spent about $210,000 in media. We got about $9 million worth of media time. We bought 38 million impressions. We got 491 million. Basically, when we took these results to Bolthouse Farms, this was exactly, not basically, this was in fact verbatim their response. We're going to need more carrots. And they are in fact buying additional acreage to grow more carrots, so I guess that's a good thing. Another thing that we spend a lot of time doing is gleaning social media. We have a significant staff of people, almost 20, who basically read blogs and Twitters and stuff like that and find out what's going on. And when we were about to introduce the Microsoft phone, the new Windows 7 phone, we got, I think, we got an insight from all the social media that we were monitoring, which I think was a smart one for Windows Phone. And basically what it said is everyone in the world is getting tired of everyone texting all the goddamn time. And there was stuff up on YouTube of people falling in fountains. I'm sure you've seen it in shopping malls because they were texting, and people doing other stupid things. And the promise of the Windows Phone is that because it's more efficient, which it is in fact, you can get in and get your business done and get out quicker. You'll spend less time on it. So that's the insight we used when we did this spot that introduced the campaign.
Really?
Really?
It's time for a phone to save us from our phones. New Windows Phone, designed to get you in and out and back to life. Get yours at AT&T.
I just want to show you one more case. I'm only going to go less than 10 seconds over, but this is, I think, one of the coolest things we've done. This slide says everybody's a creative. I think what it really should be is everybody's a research genius, or everybody's a researcher, because we're a pretty open system agency and everybody gets involved. And when we were introducing Mini Cooper to the U.S. about 10 years ago, we talked to our media department and said, we don't have a lot of money. We don't have, like we have 1/10 the money that Volkswagen does to introduce the new Beetle. Figure out ways, do your research and figure out ways for us to maximize our dollars. And we did a lot of interesting things. We bought booths, or what do you call them? We bought seats in football and baseball stadiums, and we put minis in them, and we put minis on top of SUVs and drove around cities. And then our media department came back to us and said, look, we can buy direct response TV super cheap, but you have to have a product to sell. You have to have a product to sell. You have to have an 800 number. You can't sell minis direct response. But it's super cheap TV. So we made this commercial.
It's happening all around the globe. People getting tricked by counterfeit brand name merchandise, premium watches, sunglasses, and you won't believe what else is being knocked off. Mini Coopers. That's why you need this important DVD from the Counterfeit Commission. You'll get a crash course on how to spot a fake. You'll hear from humiliated victims.
I thought a Mini Cooper for $1,200. What's motor, right?
Wrong. We'll even take you overseas and show you how they duplicate Mini's signature look.
You just paint the roof, slap on some bonnet stripes, boom, boom. No one can tell the difference.
Until they try to park it, drive it, or turn it. Don't be fooled by imitations. Be certain your Mini is genuine. To order counterfeit Mini Coopers, visit counterfeitmini.org or send a self-addressed stamped envelope to the Counterfeit Commission.
So about 16,000 people bought that. I have no idea who they are. Thanks.